Good morning, good morning, good morning, good Sunday morning. This is the P.I.L.L Method Show. My name is Don Daniel, founder of P.I.L.L Method International, a better way to eliminate debt. P.I.L.L stands for prepayment of principal, isolating the principal amount, leverage, and liquidity. This morning, we're going to be talking about, is investing these days too risky? We've got a special guest coming on, and his name is Perry Jeffries. If you're listening to us on Clubhouse, come on over to YouTube because we're getting ready to discontinue the audio on Clubhouse. So we'll see you over on YouTube. All right, everyone, listen, here's what we've got going on here. This guy, I'm telling you, he's got 20 years of financial services 20 years in the financial services, 20 years experience. He's held positions at 3 Fortune 500 companies. He has his Series 66 license, his health and annuities. He's a chartered retirement planning counselor. He is a certified plan fiduciary advisor. Oh man, a mastery level certified profit first professional, a blockchain and digital assets professional. Oh man, he's got so many accolades. I can't even begin to tell you everything that this guy does. But one thing you do want to know is he's going to cover some vital steps, at least 6 steps you're going to want to know how to get into investing and building wealth for your family, for your business, for your church, whatever it is. Mr. Perry Jeffries is the guy. Perry Jeffries, how are you doing this morning, sir?
Good morning. Good morning. How's my sound? Can you hear me okay?
Oh man, your sound is almost as good as you look.
I appreciate that. I'm still getting kind of acclimated to flying back from Arizona last night to Ohio, so I'm still getting my bearings with the time change. So thank you for that compliment and the warm introduction. I really appreciate it.
Well, listen, man, I left some stuff out. Listen, can you just give the folks just a tiny bit about what they want to be able to, why do they want to listen to you? And we want to encourage them also to come into the studio to ask questions live, or at least type them in the comment section. So tell the folks, what do they have in store for today?
So, and I say this very humbly, right? But what you want to do, first of all, let's deal with the latter. You want to come into the studio and ask these questions. What we have found in our communities is that there's a lack of financial literacy. But part of that lack of financial literacy comes from lack of trust of who we can go to and get information from. So with that being said, you want to come into the studio because if you're a friend of Don Daniel and you following him, you're a friend of mine. And how often are you going to have the opportunity to sit down to talk to someone who has been advising clients and businesses for 2 decades around all things financial? So in addition to being, helping clients with their personal finances, I'm also a CFO for 3 7-figure plus businesses. I've managed $80 million in assets. I grew my own $4 million real estate portfolio when I was in my mid-20s. Here recently, we've helped clients acquire hundreds of thousands of dollars in working capital to go out and create their wealth. So, and again, not to toot my own horn, but if you have the opportunity to have a fireside chat, a cup of coffee with someone with that type of experience, you would quickly buy that cup of coffee, right, and ask the questions that you will want to ask, right? Because this is not a sales environment. We're not trying to sell you anything, which is one of the reasons I think from a community standpoint, we don't trust financial advisors. I am truly here to share my good experiences, but also my bad experiences. So Mr. Daniel said, why should you maybe want to come in and have a conversation with me? Ultimately, I'm a real dude. I have not made perfect steps in my financial journey. But what I have learned from, some wins and also too some losses is how I can tell clients, don't do this, don't do that. This is what works. This is what does not work. And with that being said, I think, Mr. Daniel, I think we probably covered it in that sense. So if you're an entrepreneur, again, we manage millions of dollars and advise on millions of dollars as a CFO. If you're a non-entrepreneur, you still want to come in here and get this information, because how often do you have a chance to talk to a real dude who's not going to talk over your head, who's not going to judge you, and is just going to give it to you very transparently and in terms that you can understand. So if you haven't came into the room yet, come into the room. Let's have a conversation.
Thank you very much. Hey, Perry, listen, here at the P.I.L.L Method, we teach people about money as well. We teach them how to borrow money at a discount, how to manage their debt and take those interest savings and invest it. Why are you here talking about investing on a show that mainly talks about how to best manage debt?
Great question. So ultimately, when you think about creating wealth, and we hear a lot of talk out there around, generational wealth, creating wealth, getting to the bag, whatever you want to call it, right? Fundamentally, it starts with your cash management mastery. Are you a master of your cash flow? And the components of cash flow are managing your income, your expenses, your debt, and eventually getting to the point that you do have the funds available to invest, right? So the two really go hand in hand. What you do with the P.I.L.L method is absolutely remarkable. And disclaimer to everybody, I use the P.I.L.L method not only with my personal finances, but also with my business finances, because it's just a phenomenal piece that allows me to not have to think and make these strategic decisions on my own, right? So we can use the system and the AI to be able to manage the cash flow. But the two go hand in hand. So many times, Mr. Daniel, we see people want to jump automatically to, oh man, I want to invest and I'm going to get the bag and I'm going to buy real estate and I'm going to do these things. But ultimately, before you can even start to do that, you have to get a grasp on your cash flow. And what the P.I.L.L method does, it allows you to get a grasp on your cash flow and be able to allocate dollars in the right place to free up that capital to go out here and do the investment piece. So that's why I'm here.
Okay.
Other than the fact you asked me to be on here, so you're my guy. So if you ask me to be there, I'm going to be there. Outside of that, that's why I'm here.
Gotcha. Hey, listen, man. Why don't you? Do you have something that you need to put on the screen at all?
Oh no.
Okay, good. All right, good. So here's what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen. Perry, you have 6 steps. I don't know exactly what you call them. All right, but you have 6 things that we need to. Can we start there? Yep. To start the conversation so we can get people to start asking their questions and come in to the studio. All right. Absolutely. So remember, your link is at the top of the page, folks. And we're also going to put it in the comment section so that you can come right into the studio on StreamYard and ask your questions live. Or if you're a little shy, go ahead and type your questions in the comment section. Perry, it's on you, my brother.
All right, awesome. So let's get the framework around this real quick, just so we can level set and make sure we're all on the same page. So before we start talking about investing, since I've been doing this for 2 decades, I have people hit me up all the time like, hey Perry, I want to invest with you, I want to work with you, we've been following you on YouTube, or we heard you present here and we want you to be our financial advisor. And they may say, man, I got some money, I got some coin to invest, 10,000, 100,000, I got an old retirement plan, 401k, whatever the case may be. And I immediately give them pause and say, well, here's the deal. I will not invest a dime of anyone's money without first having a holistic plan built. And that's, they kind of look at me sideways like, man, I'm trying to give you business. What are you talking about, man? Let's just invest these dollars. And again, I give them pause again and say, no, just our philosophy and what we truly believe is that we should not invest dollars without first having a plan. So let me first give this analogy. If you were going to build your dream home. You found, a couple acres, or you found some land, or whatever the case may be, and you're building your dream home from scratch, right? Who is the first contractor you're going to hire? Are you going to go out and hire the plumber day one? Are you going to go out and hire HVAC? Are you going to go hire the roofer, the framer? Absolutely not. The first contractor that you should be thinking about hiring is the architect. Your architect is your first contractor to hire. Why? Because you first have to get your dream house on paper, right? And that's the drawings. You first have to be able to say, hey, yes, I want a 3-story or a 5-level split, 5 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, area for a basketball hoop, a swimming pool, or hey, I want a ranch. I don't want to climb up any stairs. I want 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. In order to build your dream home, you first have to have the drawings on paper. Okay. What we find more times than not is that folks would immediately go to buying furniture for their dream home before they even have the dream home. And the metaphor I'm using here is this: they'll go get all of these investments because they were on social media, or some advisor told them that they needed this product or that product. And then when we get to them, like, hey, why do you have this product? How does it fit into your dream home? How does it fit into your overall financial plan? They're like, Perry, I don't know. The dude or the gal said this is what I should buy. So we first start with building the home, getting the drawings on paper, because after we spend time building that out, then identifying the right investments for you, it's easy to do. And kind of, the whole purpose of this talk that we're having, and why Mr. Daniel brought me on, was investing and being too risky. Investing doesn't have to be risky if you first have a plan. Like if you're just going out buying cryptocurrency because somebody on IG said you need to go get Bitcoin or Ethereum, and you're pulling money out off of a HELOC, or you're pulling your savings, you're investing without a plan. That's what's risky. Investing with a plan immediately mitigates and reduces your risk. So I just want the first level set there. So now let's get into these 6 components of what we consider a holistic plan. So your first component is going to be your budget. This is foundational, right? Whether you call it cash flow mastery, budget, this is foundational. You have to know how much money is coming in, and you have to know how much money is going out. But why is really important for you to understand how much money is going out is not that we want to tell you or restrict you and say, oh man, you can't go do these things. The reason you need to know how much money is going out is because that is the number we have to solve for. So case in point, if we know that, hey, your lifestyle expense is, because you've done a good job understanding your numbers, and we know that your lifestyle expense is $5,000 a month, well, then we know that's a number that we need to go and replace. We need to replace $5,000 a month. And how do we go about doing that? That is immediately going to give us a GPS or a path forward to determine what is the best investments for us, right? So the first component is your budget, your cash flow. Your second component that we need to really get our arms wrapped around is your insurance, right? So not just in, let's say, risk management, for lack of better terminology here, right? But in simple terms, insurance. Is your life covered? What happens if you're no longer able to work? Have you protected some of your assets from a principal standpoint, right? So now we want to make sure that we're managing for the risk, because this is what we know. Bad things happen to good people all the time. So we have to plan for that. The third piece we start to plan for is I've moved past using the word retirement. I don't like retirement planning. And let me tell you why. So just a quick aside here. Retirement planning immediately creates this vision of, yep, I'm going to retire when I'm 60, 70 years old. I personally think that is trash. I no longer subscribe to having to work till 60 and 70 years old, right? So what we like to use instead of retirement planning is work optional planning, right? So what number and what do we need to do to become work optional as quickly as fiscally and humanly possible? So let's put a pin in here for a second. I'm gonna go through all of these here.
So since we're putting a pin in, and
Yep.
Perry, listen, Folks, if you think you're going to try to remember all of this, I don't care. Listen, this is going to be recorded. It is going to be up, but you need to start writing this down yourself. Start taking notes. Even though this is a recording, you can play it back anytime you want. But I'm telling you, when you start writing things down, it matters. I mean, it sticks in your brain a different way. And so I'm going to listen. I got some questions already, but I don't want to interrupt your flow, Perry. So go ahead and continue. I just wanted to tell the folks they need to start writing down and get in here and start asking the questions themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, absolutely. So the pen we're going to put in with this whole work optional planning, let me, and I probably should have did this at the beginning, so I apologize, but let's make sure that we all level set and get on the same definition of wealth. All right. So for everybody listening, and Mr. Daniel, I'm glad you jumped in and said, make sure you write this down. Make sure you write this down, y'all. This is the definition of wealth that we've adopted. This is the definition of wealth that our clients have adopted. And this is why we and our clients are winning. We now define wealth as this: the accumulation of assets, which can be converted into passive income to cover your lifestyle expense. So let me say that again. Our definition of wealth is the accumulation of assets, which can be converted into passive income in order to cover your lifestyle expense. So notice, I didn't say you need stocks. Notice I didn't say you need mutual funds. I didn't say you need insurance. I didn't say you need real estate. Didn't say you need your a business. Whatever the asset that best fits your goals and your personality type is the assets that you need to be looking to invest in. But ultimately, the goal is to acquire assets which can be converted into passive income so that cover your lifestyle expenses. Because when your passive income is more than your monthly expenses, you are financially free. And that is not an age. That is not 60, 70, 80 years old. At the point that your passive income is greater than your monthly bills, you are now financially independent. And we can get there a lot quicker than most people are addressing.
Perry, talk to me about passive income. What does that mean? Passive income.
So you have all kinds of passive income. We could sit on here for the next 10 hours and discuss this one, but let's just think about it this way. You do something once and then you receive revenue or cash flow for doing that one activity. Now, you do have what we call active passive income, and then you have passive income, right? So a form of, say, an active passive income, let's use real estate, for example. You go out and you acquire some real estate and you got some tenants in there. You're effectively receiving passive income. You bought this property and every month you receive that passive income. Now, why this is we consider active passive income, you still might have to deal with that tenant. You still might have an issue at the property, things of that nature. So you're still kind of active in it, but you're receiving that monthly recurring income, right? Now, you could take that same scenario right there, hire a property manager, completely remove yourself from having to deal with that tenant, and now you've created passive income because you're not actively involved in it, right? This can be done with stocks. This can be done with annuities and insurance products. This can actually be done with your business if you build your business the right way to where you are not the one person who the business is not built completely around you. So there's so many different forms of passive income. So, affiliate marketing, network marketing, just it's almost limitless.
So Perry, you help people with W-2 jobs?
Absolutely.
Create passive income?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, we do a really good job with it too.
They never even thought about starting a business, but they can still have passive income.
So W-2 employee, and here's the deal, y'all. I'm not one of those cats that's gonna hate on people with 9 to 5. There's a lot of business owners who need to go back and get a job anyway, but that's a whole nother segment. Because they're not running the business the way it needs to be run to begin with. So, but with that being said, here's the deal, y'all. Whether you get your money, your income from your W-2 9 to 5, or whether you get your income from your business, you still are getting capital in your hand. And you now have to become intentional about what you do with that capital. So I don't care if that capital hit you direct deposit, what I'm saying, from your job, or that was money, what I'm saying, that you pull some profit out of the business. You now have to figure out what is the best use of this capital and what can I go out and acquire that's going to start to give me, financial independence. Absolutely. Yep. Yep. Good stuff. So my bad, y'all. I should have level set that. So now that we are clear on that, right now, let me go through the first three points of a holistic financial plan just to make sure we stay on the same page. Number one, what's your budget? Knowing your cash flow and knowing your numbers. This is foundational. We cannot start a plan without this. This is the basement of your dream home that we're building. This is the foundation that we're building. Second is your risk management. Are we set up to protect ourselves and protect the plan if when we pass away, if we become disabled, protect the assets that we have? So we got the risk management. Third is the work optional planning. After we have a grasp on our cash flow, after we've addressed the risk and the things that could stop us from, acquiring assets, things of that nature. Now we look at what is our work optional number, and we start to build a plan around how to become financially independent. Now that we have that number, right, and we know what we're planning for, we go to the fourth step, which is now the investment step. Okay, I have this money. I know the number I need to solve for. I need $5,000 a month today. Or if I want to be work optional in the next 5 or 10 years, if that's your goal, okay, with that 5,000 added inflation to it, maybe it's 6,500 in 5 years or 7,000, whatever you're planning for. Make sure you plan for that inflation number. And now you start to identify what investments work best for you. So here's the deal. Every opportunity ain't for you, right? So there's so many different ways to invest. And all of them are not for you, because if they were all for you, then none of them are for you. It's one of those type scenarios. So now that you know your numbers, you know what you have to solve for. Y'all, this is really just basic math. If you know, like, man, I need to replace $5,000 a month in income. Now let me go and identify the assets that can do that. And then you start to double down and acquire those assets. For some, maybe it's a dividend stock, maybe it's a mutual fund. For some, maybe they're like, man, I don't want to touch the stock, I want a hard asset like real estate. For some, hey, I'm just going to go all in on my business. But regardless, now you know what you need to solve for, and now you need know where you need to invest your dollars. Okay. Fifth component is your taxes. So understand this. And again, going back to what Mr. Daniel said earlier, make sure you take a notes on this. Let me just share this just very bluntly. Your highest expense ain't your house, ain't your car. It's your tax bill. Your tax bill, think about this for a second. For most people, every dollar that comes into the house, 30% goes to taxes. So if you're in the state of Ohio, depending on your tax bracket, hey, I got 5% going to the state, I got this going to local, I got this going to federal, right? You're looking anywhere between 15 to 40% of every dollar that comes in goes to taxes. So you have to have a plan to mitigate and minimize your taxes. You can so here's the deal, y'all. When you're talking about being work optional, when you're talking about being financially independent, if you're not solving for your tax bill, you're working backwards, right? So where we're different from a lot of advisors out there, because we actually have our own firm. We're a registered investment advisory firm, so we're not a broker dealer. We specialize in giving clients advice, not trying to sell them product and generate commissions. That's not our jam. So with that being said, you have to solve for that. And most advisors don't want to touch that. So let me just give a case in point. And this may open up just a whole ball of wax, but we're just going to go into it, Mr. Daniel. For all y'all who have been conditioned that you need to put all, you need to double down on your 401k. And let me first disclose, I'm not a 401k hater, right? But let's just use this for an example here. All of us have been told, hey, man, put money into your 401k, right? Well, most of us are putting money into our 401k and those dollars are going in pre-tax, which means we haven't paid taxes on those dollars yet. If you haven't solved or start to plan to minimize your taxes, what happens in that 15, 20 years when you go to take that money out of your 401k? If those dollars were put in pre-tax, which is how the majority of people are set up, when that money comes out, it's now taxed. Well, what's the tax rate in 10, 15, 20 years? You don't know, which means now you're in a partnership with the United States of America, the IRS. And if they decide that, hey, at the point in time that you start taking money out your retirement plan, tax rates are 40, 50%, you just lost that money. So real quick math here, y'all. You're putting money into your 401k and you're in a 25% tax bracket. And you're like, ooh, I saved on taxes because I put money into my pre-tax 401k. And then fast forward, 20 years, you go to take money out, but now tax rates have increased to 50%. How much did you lose? You're down 25%. Quick math, right? Because now every dollar that comes out is being taxed at 50 versus the 25 that you save. So you have to plan for taxes, right? Every transaction you have, every transaction you make is going to have a tax implication. And if you're not on point on that, then you're losing it a little bit. I'll give one other example why it's so important to plan for taxes. I remember was that around the pandemic time there, Mr. Daniel, everybody's going crazy off of AMC stock and the AMC stock and the other video store stock, and people just losing their mind over it, right? And like, oh man, so everybody had these brokerage accounts. Okay. And then the stock inflated and then they sold out and they're like, oh, I got the bag. And I'm sitting on the sideline saying, I sure hope you plan for taxes because you didn't hold that stock for 365 days. That's being taxed as ordinary income. So that bag that you got, I hope you ain't spend the whole bag because you owe taxes on the gains that you made, right? Now, you could have ran that same strategy in a Roth IRA and had no taxes. But if you're not planning, if you do not have the architectural drawings of your dream home or your wealth building vehicle, then you don't know that. So now, hey, yeah, I put in 10,000 in the AMC stock. That's cool. And it's up to 50. That's cool. So you sold it. All right. So your gains are 40,000. Yo, that's tax at ordinary income. Add that to your ordinary income base, right? And did you save that money? So again, you could have did that same transaction in a different account, bought the same stock and had a completely different tax situation. So you have to plan for taxes. All right. Last but not least, point 6 here is the legacy piece. So, it's Sunday morning, Mr. Daniel, and I'm gonna try to keep it clean. I can go off the rails a little bit sometime, but but here's the deal, y'all. I hear so much talk about generational wealth. And now I'm at the point now, every time I see generational wealth, every time I read generational wealth, I actually cringe because everybody's generational wealth. I'm breaking the curses, creating generational wealth. Here's the deal. Generational wealth, and write this down too, y'all. Generational wealth is created with paperwork. Let me say that again. Generational wealth is created with actually 2 things. Generational wealth is created with paperwork and knowledge. You are not creating generational wealth if you do not have the correct paperwork in place. If you have no wills, no trusts, no entities, no tax identifications, you have no beneficiaries set up the right way, you are not creating generational wealth if your paperwork ain't on point. You have to have the right paperwork in order to create generational wealth. And generational wealth technically is really created by knowledge. How you create generational wealth is by increasing your financial literacy and then passing it on to the next generation. That's true generational wealth. Because, oh man, I'm creating generational wealth because I got a life insurance policy. First of all, kudos to you having a life insurance policy. But here's the deal. Remember, that was like step 2 in this whole process. How dare you not walk around with life insurance if you're an adult, who can get life insurance. So you like, I congratulate you for having it, but this is just what responsible people do anyway. But let me go back. So you got this insurance policy, right? You pass and the kid gets, or your beneficiaries get $500,000 or $1 million or whatever the case, 100,000, whatever the case may be. If you have not taught that beneficiary what to do with those dollars will be gone faster than the road runner, you know what I'm saying, on Saturday morning cartoons. Okay. So that's where generational wealth and legacy is created. You didn't create legacy just because you got an LLC and like, oh, I'm creating generational wealth. No, generational wealth is included with having your T's crossed and your I's dotted on your paperwork, and also too by growing your financial literacy, which can be passed on to the next generation. So again, that's just a quick aside. So let me summarize this, because I know we kind of veered off and have some tangents there. Here are your 6 components of a holistic financial plan. Number 1, budget and cash flow. Number 2, risk management. Make sure you have the right insurances and you're protecting for the downside. 3, work optional planning, really understanding the number and the amount of income that you need to have in the future. Start planning for your future income today. Number 4, now that you've planned and you have your number, now you know what assets to go out and identify that's going to get you to that number as quickly as possible. So now you have an investment strategy, right? Number 5, you have to plan for taxes. You have to plan for taxes. You can have the best investments in the world in a wrong account and get slammed on the taxes, and now half your money is gone. And number 6, the legacy plan. And this is the roof of your dream home. This is make sure the paperwork is on point, that you can transfer assets to your loved ones, that you can really create that legacy piece and protect yourself as well. So those are your 6 components of a financial plan. And to really kind of put that, that period on it, this is the process anyone has to go through before we invest a dime of their money, because we need to be crystal clear on all 6 of these components so we know where the money needs to go. And that's why we literally turn people away who just come to us and say, hey, Perry, I want to invest some money. We don't invest anything without first having a holistic plan, because if you have this plan in place, you don't even really need me to invest the money. Right? You can go out with this plan and this type of framework and actually will do a lot of the investment on your own. You're still going to need some guidance, right? And you still may need some coaching and whatnot. But I technically, don't need to actually have your funds and invest it, because your plan may require, based on your personality type and your timeline, may require you doubling down on real estate. Well, I'm not going to invest in real estate for you, but now you know exactly what kind of cash flow that you need to go out and generate month by month, year by year, to get to your work optional date and become financially independent. Okay, I'm going to be quiet and allow for some questions.
Because listen, I've got a ton. Already. But first of all, but before I jump in, somebody may need to jump off. Do you charge for consultation?
I do not charge for consultation. Consultations are complimentary.
Okay, all right, complimentary. So we've got a link in the chat already. If you want a consultation, you can sign up for that, and you can put your own consultation on the on your calendar. Correct?
That is correct.
All right. So we've got that in the chat already, and we're going to put it back in there again. So you'll see it says consultation if you want to get a consultation. So don't forget that. So first of all, I want to talk about the word budget.
Yeah.
Because for a lot of people, budget means what I can't do.
Correct.
What I can't do, and it leaves a bad taste in my mouth already, Mr. Jeffries.
Yep.
So is that what you're talking about today?
Yep. Yeah, let's jump into it, right? So we've been conditioned, and this is something that we need to unlearn, that budget is a form of restriction. We've been conditioned. We're like, oh man, I gotta go on a budget. I can't go buy my Jordans. I can't go out to eat. Somebody said, if I don't drink my cup of coffee, every day at Starbucks, then I'll be able to retire in 50 years, right? So that's how people think about budget, right? So no, we don't want to think about budget that way. We want to unlearn that. How we want to think about budget is just literally giving every dollar a job. So that's how you want to think about budget. That's how we think about budget. And that's how we train, and that's how we coach our clients and things of that nature. Think about this. Budget is just simply mastery of what's coming in and what's going out, and giving every dollar a job. Let no dollar go unemployed. So, and it's based upon your goals, right? So Mr. Downey mentioned earlier that I'm a mastery level profit first professional. So I'm not going to go into that entire process, but what profit first is a cash management strategy for businesses, but you can use it for your personal finances as well. And truly what it is just an envelope system. Ultimately, if we zoom out and look at it, it's an envelope system. So budget is this: hey, this amount of money came in, and I got some envelopes here. I got my savings envelope, my investments envelope, my monthly expense envelope, my go out and buy fast food so my wife don't know about it envelope. I got my vacation envelope. So that's the budget. It's just, hey, this money came in and it's already predetermined where these dollars are going to go. Right. So budget simply is just giving every dollar a job. And how you assign jobs, you assign the jobs based upon the goals of your money. Right. So, and now if you're like, man, I really wish I had some more money going into my vacation fund, well, then you got to make a decision. Well, maybe eating out every day ain't getting me closer to that vacation fund. So now, because you have these envelopes set up and you've assigned every dollar a job based upon goals, if you're not putting enough money into set envelopes, then you're going to make decisions on where you need to go. So this is not a restriction. This is being a smart employer of your dollars and giving your dollars a job.
Wow. Listen, man, the P.I.L.L method is truly blessed today to have you come in and talk about, as an expert on investing. We also have another expert in the building right now on credit. I'm talking about the number one credit educator
You better not be
in
my
the
guy.
U.S. In the
Better not be my
U.S.
guy.
Yes, it's your guy. It's your guy. Let's bring him in. Let's bring him on in. The number one credit educator in the whole United States.
What's up, baby?
Two
What's
books
happening?
out there. Mr. Flame Newton. Flame, what brings you in here today, man?
Man, how you guys doing? First of all, how you guys doing?
Excellent, man.
Amazing,
Excellent.
bro. Amazing. Even better seeing you. I know the energy. You know what I'm saying? I don't know where you're at, but I don't know if it's good evening or good morning, but glad to see your face, man.
Yeah, man, I'm out here in Arizona, man. Listen, for the people that are listening right now, I'm going to let you guys know that you're dealing with two of the best guys, man, I could possibly find, Don Daniel and Mr. Peter Jeffries. I mean, because they know in their craft. Not only do they know their craft, those are also two people that are actually living what they're saying that they're talking about that they're doing. So I gotta definitely always make sure that I come into them and let them know this right here. Give them their shout outs one time for that, man. Just glad to be here, man. Glad to participate in any way I can, man. I love this. I love this space. I love this opportunity with you guys.
Hey, listen, I want to talk about this for just a second, Perry. We're gonna dovetail all this stuff together. And when it comes to you're talking about budgeting, mastering your money. And with Flame, we can talk about leveraging credit, because I've heard Flame talk about in the past, you don't get credit to buy stuff. You get it to make money. Listen, help me to understand, Flame, because this all works together, and also talk about how we're going to be talking. We're going to be working together tonight on a program you put together. So talk to us about how what you do fits in with what I do and what Perry does.
Oh
Okay.
man, this is it right here, man. This is three of the best words that you could possibly get, right? So for you guys that don't understand, I talk about credit. By the way, my name is Flame Newton, known as America's #1 credit educator and author of the School of Credit book series, right? Learning Master. With that being said, right, how this whole stuff works with this whole credit stuff. I want you guys to remember these two rules. There are two rules. The first two rules that I want you guys to have. Now, guys, I want you to understand these two rules in its entirety and its incompletion. And then you're going to see how all of this stuff ties in. The very first rule that I want you to understand is that money comes at a cost. I want to say that again. Money comes at a cost. I want to make sure that you guys understand this very clear. Money comes at a cost. Money is a product. Don't let nobody confuse you. Money is a product. Just like how you can go into a Walmart and you can pick up items off the shelf, just like how you can go into your local 7-Eleven and you can get a soda and some chips, maybe some peanuts. Maybe you're the type of person to go get a pack of cigarettes. I don't know what it is, right, that you get. Those are all products. Those are products, right? Money comes in the same way. Money is a product. So the number one thing that you got to know is that if money comes at a cost, you must know how much your money costs at all times. You must know how much your money costs. Money comes at a cost, so you got to know the price of the money, right? Because if it comes at a cost, you got to have a price of it. So what does that price dictate, right? And that's what the first thing that you got to know. Number two is that you only use borrowed money to make money. That's it. So your only advance with credit is for one reason. You only use credit to make you more money. That's it. Let's get all that confused. I get it. You want to look like you got money, and it's good to have some nice threads, and I respect that, right? It's good to drive like you got some money. Listen, as a matter of fact, I like that new car that you got. Perfect, right? It's good to live like you got some money, right? But listen, the number one goal in this thing is to use other people's money to make more money for yourself. You take the profits off of that money and buy those other things that you want, that you love and enjoy. So now where are we going to get into with how all this stuff wraps in is because in order to get to this particular point, remember the very first thing I said, that money comes at a cost, right? So the higher that your credit score is, the lower that you're going to pay on the amount of money that you're going to borrow, right? But in order to get to that particular point, right, you need a guy like Mr. Perry Jeffries who could come in and say, hey, let's wrap this into this sequence let's wrap this up into this sequence of stuff. And that one sequence is saying, hey, if I'm late on this bill, right, which is going to affect my credit, maybe I might have to go in and maybe I might have to do some budgeting. Maybe I might have to go in and I have to take a reevaluation of the things that are important. And that's where Mr. Perry comes in, because now things that you thought were important may not be as important as you may think they once were, right? So we got to make sure that we've gotten our finances, we got our stuff in error, because you got to see the long-term goal. Now, within that same sequence of the money, right? Now you get into Mr. Don Davis with the P.I.L.L method. Is now he's going to show you about the price versus the cost. Right, and he can break that down so eloquently, is showing that, hey, over a period of time that you're paying for something, so just like that automobile that you're paying for, right, and you got that automobile on the 6-year, 7-year, 8-year plan, when you actually purchase that, whether you're talking about a 60-month, 72 or 84-month plan, when you actually purchase that car, now you're going to be able to know how to pay the money in which you owed, because there's a sequence that you have to pay it in order to get the lower cost on the money that you're actually paying for. So listen, man, I can talk about this all day. Listen, I'm just excited to being here, but I want you guys to see how those things actually lines itself up correctly with those three. Because once you understand Mr. Perry Jeffries' part about where that money is allocated to and about the strength of it, then you can collect that over here and say, hey, it comes at a cost. Now you can say, hey, I got to pay less money because there's an item. And this is, and watch this, Mr. Don, there's an item. This item, and just for the purpose of the story, let's call it item. I don't know what you want to call an item. I call it a car for that matter, right? So within this car that you actually have with this car is a $30,000 car, right? It's the same, listen, it's a $30,000 car. Now, for this, I'm going to add another person in here. I'm going to call these two guys. I'm going to call one called Peter and the other one called Paul. So I like Peter and I like Paul. So I'm going to call one called Peter and the other one called Paul. Say they both bought the same car, the same color, the same mileage, the same exact terms and conditions with the actual car. They both bought a $30,000 car. So when they both bought a $30,000 car, at the end of a term, so let's give it a term. Let's call it a 72-month term. At the end of 72 months, right, one paid $34,000 for that car and the other one paid $46,000 for that car, right? So the difference of this is now you start talking about This is more money going outside of the household, right? So now, guess what actually happens? I'm cooking. Then what actually happens now is that in order for you to make these payments, you got to be able to do other things in order to create that income that's coming in. Because Peter is keep looking at Paul because he wants to live the life that Paul's living. Paul's going on vacations. Peter has to work. Paul is going on trips. Peter got to work. But the thing about this thing is he's trying to keep up. But he can't. So now he has to get a second job, which takes him away from his home and his family. Once he gets that second job, little Johnny, which is his son, now is coming home. There's nobody at home because he's working all the time. Mom has to pick up the daughter from school. Next thing you know, John is looking for a place to go. Daddy's at work. Daddy's at work trying to make extra money to pay on this car. While he's paying on this car, this extra money paying on this car, he's looking for he's looking for a role model of leadership. And guess who he turns to? He turns into the streets. And now next thing you know, he's running with the riffraff. While he's running with the riffraff, when he's running with the riffraff, he ends up getting charged. Not only does he pay extra $12,000 on the car that he's paying for, he also got to pay a bond or a bail because he just got caught throwing a rock at a car and breaking a window. See, all of this stuff adds up, baby. All of this stuff adds up. See, you don't understand when you take the person out of the home and you got to put them into a predicament where they have to work more and put more money in. Now the household is in disarray. Now the wife and the husband, now they're bickering back and forth because the money is in there. Next thing you know, they got that heart shape and they got 3 Z's in the middle of the heart because now once when they was both taking pictures, now they both split apart. Now he's got to pay alimony to his wife. Now he's got to pay his new apartment. Man, listen, I can go on and on. I'm sorry.
Flay, listen, man.
Oh, God.
Low, brother. Listen, Flame, you're going to be on later tonight. Could you put it in the private chat so that we can make sure that we get your information or text it to me and I'll put it in the chat for you. You're going to be on live later tonight. And we want to, at what time are you going to be on live?
7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mr. Perry's going to be there too. If you could come in there too. If I can, you see how I just do it on the spot. If he's available tonight, I definitely want him involved.
Okay.
Want him around.
All right. So 7 p.m. Eastern time tonight, we're going to get together. All right. And we just need that link so that we can put that up.
Okay. I'm getting that to you now.
Okay. Listen, man. So listen, Perry, he talked about some things that I got that's going to bring me right back to you. All right. And I love this term. I love the term. Okay. Work optional.
Yep.
What? So little Johnny can have his dad at home and doesn't catch a case out there throwing rocks at cars. And now they got to spend money on a lawyer. So how do we get that work optional money?
Yeah.
Because that's huge.
So I'm gonna go ahead and just piggyback on that energy that Flame just gave us, right? So Flame,
yes.
Thank you. You opened up the door for so much more of this conversation, right? I was gonna say this to the end, but you opened up the door, so let's just jump right into it. So what I gave you guys earlier was the framework on how to manage your personal finances. But if you're anything like me, I'm 47 this year. After 20 years of being in this financial service industry, I decided after interviewing folks who were really wealthy and financially independent that I refuse to have to work till, 60, 70 years of age. So here recently, what we did was pulled in a ton of resources, a bunch of research on myself and on personal finances. And we created a system called WHAM, and that's short for our Wealth Accelerator Method. And with the WHAM method, this is for the high performers. And I say high performers, action takers, people who don't make excuses, go out and get it done. And these are for those individuals who want to accelerate their timeline to financial independence, because this is the deal. It first goes income. You have to create passive income. When you create passive income, to Flame's point, now you have more independence. There's no independence without passive income, because if you do not have passive income, you are forced to trade your time for dollars. And if you're trading your time for dollars, that means you're not independent. So when you increase your income, you increase your independence. When you increase your independence, you increase your impact. You can show up to little Johnny's AU game entertainment, coach the team. You guys can go on vacation. You can spend more time at the church, volunteering and things of that nature. So I want you to think about these 3 I's, and they go in this order. They don't go out of this order. There's no independence does not come before income. So it's first, get your passive income up, right? Income leads to independence. More independence leads to more impact. So that is that flow. So when you talk about Mr. Daniel, and you talk about this work optional piece, one of the pillars of our wealth accelerator method, and this is how I'm going to rope Flame back into the conversation. One of our pillars of the wealth accelerator method is this pillar that we call salad. Okay. And it's going to be heavy, but y'all just bear with me for a second. We call it salad because that is short for systematic accumulation of leverage assets by design. So this is the wealth hack, and Flame spoke to it with respects to, I got his 2 notes down here. Money comes at a cost, and money is a product. And number 2, only use credit to make money. What we found as the wealth hack that the most financially independent people in the world use is this. They grow their assets, not to liquidate their assets in the future, but they grow their assets so that those assets can be leveraged, i.e. credit, OPM, other people's money, lines of credit, whatever the case may be, leveraged to then go out and acquire other income generating assets. So within this framework, it looks like this. I'm going to grow this asset. I'm going to double down and put money into this asset, whatever that asset is, whether that's your whole life product, whether that's your IUL, whether that's your, real estate portfolio, whether that's whatever case, whether that's your business. Everybody has their asset based upon where they are. But I'm doubling down on this asset. And the deal is I want to get that asset so that I can eventually use credit, i.e. leverage, to then go out and acquire the actual assets that's going to give me the passive income. And that's the second pillar of the wealth accelerator method, because if you think about it, you now still have 2 assets that are still growing versus having 1 asset that is growing. And then by having 2 assets that is growing and understanding that you can use one asset, number 1, as leverage to get access to capital to buy, asset number 2, you actually mitigate your risk, because if something goes wrong with asset number 2, you still have asset number 1. So again, that's a whole conversation. I go more into this training inside our Accelerate Academy. So if this is interesting to you, or you want to learn more, make sure you join our free Facebook group. Go to just facebook.com/groups/cash flow unlock and jump into the group and ask for information about our Accelerate Academy. So this is what we do we have people come into the academy. It's an 8-week cohort, and we go through how to implement this piece. But it was so dope to have Flame on here, because really that's the move. When you get that down, when you start to really understand that money piece, now you can accelerate your timeline to financial independence. So now you have this asset. Now you're using credit, i.e. leverage, to then acquire this other asset that's going to give you financial freedom. Now you have 2 assets that are growing simultaneously. You've condensed that time frame, accelerated your timeline to financial independence, and now you have your 3 I's. More income equals independence. Independence equals impact. So little Johnny doesn't go to jail for throwing rocks because you weren't there.
But
right,
listen, but Perry, when I was growing up, they talked about getting an education so I can have a great income, so I can get this great job, and then I can, so that I can go ahead and then I could retire with that, my benefit package.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I was taught.
Yep.
All right. So what are you saying that's different from that?
Oh, great question. All right. So let's break it down this way. We had a generation where it was work until you die. right? So that was probably like my grandparents' generation. You just work until you can't work anymore, right? And then you had the industrial age come through, and they said, man, we got to kind of do something for these people that work. And so then you had the instant, the implementation of, Social Security, right? Then it's like, man, these businesses kind of need to be on hook for these people. So then it was like, hey, kind of like my parents' generation, hey, go work at the car, at the car assembly, the car plant, right? The GMs and all of that, and you get a pension, or go work for the government in the city and you get a pension, right? If you think about this, Social Security and pension, what are those? Passive income. You worked and you got to a point now where you have money coming in that you don't have to do anything for. So we've been striving for this passive income piece, but now fast forward till today, Social Security may not cover everything you need, right? And Social Security is being pressured right now just because of, of the debts and things of that nature, right? You got pension plans that are going away. So very few companies now offer pension plans. And so if Social Security ain't going to cover your lifestyle and pension plans are going away, the onus is on you to go out and create the passive income. The whole plan this whole time has been passive income. When you start to zoom out, they didn't call it, they didn't say, oh, my Social Security is my passive income, but that's what it was. The goal was to work till Social Security or to work till your pension come in. So now if there's stress on Social Security and you're dependent upon that, you may be short, right? That may not be enough money for you to cover your lifestyle expense. And again, you got to wait till you're 62 years old plus 66 years old to get full retirement, full benefits on Social Security. And if you don't want to wait that long, you have to do something today, right? So it's always been about passive income. It's just now the onus is on us to have to go out and create it on our own. So that's kind of my piece. I think did I answer your question, Mr. Daniel? Because
Yep. You listen, you most certainly did. But I want to bring Flame back in, because Flame, listen, what if I along the way I'm doing everything that we're talking here, I'm still renting, but I want to get a house. How can we get that house? All right. Are we going to talk about that later tonight?
Oh man, listen, we're going to be talking about it in these categories. Number one, we're going to talk about how to get a home. So if you have a home, right? If you don't have a home, right? If you're renting and you don't have a home, if you do not own a home, right? We're going to show you actually how to get a home. We're going to show you the process of it from a proven vet. That's when I was on there the other day. I was able to show you deeds. These are deeds, right, that are actually completed. So number one, we're going to show you how to be able to acquire a home. People try to make this process so long and so drawn out that it actually is a deterrent from being able to do it. That's not what we're going to do. I'm going to make stuff simple for you, show you exactly step by step being able to acquire that home. And I'm going to show you how to get this done within the next 6 months. Now, Perry, did you hear that one? In the next 6 months. Mr. Don, did you hear that? Within the next 6 months. In the next 6 months, you will be able to go get a home, right? You will be able to go get a home, right? The second thing is that for people that actually have a home, and if you already have a home, that's why we have Mr. Don Daniel, because he's going to show you how to actually pay off that home within the next 7 years. Along with, for the people that are purchasing a home, you guys are going to not only learn how to get a home, but pay it off in 7 years as well. So you're going to get a home in 6 months and pay it off in 7 years. Like, this is unbelievable. This is unreal. This is stuff that we talk about and people don't understand it. I want you to share that link to each and every person in your family, right? The only way that you don't share this link, unless you're a hater. So right now, we're about to figure, if you ever wanted to know if you was a hater, because sometimes somebody probably called you a hater, you didn't believe them if they was a hater. See, sometimes you don't know if you're a hater. So now today, I'm going to show you how you can be a hater, right? Today, I'm going to show you how you can be a hater, right? If you don't share that link, you're hating on each and every person that you said the words that I love you to. So if you ever said the words that I love you to somebody, and if you don't share that link, that means that you're just hated on them at the strongest way possible, because you refuse to see them get a leg up or get a step up.
Wow. Wow. The Home Sweet Home Masterclass. We're going to put that back in the chat one more time. Listen. Michelle says, she's saying, good morning, Don, Flame, and Perry. I love that. Before we had somebody comment, when Perry was talking about, all a lie for a gold watch. working your whole life to get that gold watch. So listen, here's what I'm talking about now. Okay. Getting that house and paying that interest. I don't care what the interest rate is. We need to focus on interest cost. And so if I can save, Perry, if I can get that same house on my current budget and save $150,000 to $200,000 in interest I don't have to pay, I now have money that I can invest. But Perry, investment scares me. The stock market scares me. How can I invest when I'm afraid to invest?
Yeah. So here's the deal. We fear what we don't know and what we don't understand, right? So that a lot of that fear can be mitigated or reduced by having a clear financial plan, right? So that's why I lead with the whole financial plan piece. And now the other piece, and this is probably going to be mind blowing in your community, and our listeners are probably going to be like, "Wow, I can't believe he's going to say that." Yes, I had a Series 7 stockbroker's license. Yes, I still have a Series 66. Yes, I have all of these things. Let me be crystal clear with you. I don't really care if you invest in the stock market. The stock market is not the only investment that you can make that's going to help you get work optional and financially independent. So let's unlearn that. And so this is coming from, like, I got my stockbroker's license back in 2004. So I've had it for 20 years. And yes, if a client comes to me, I absolutely can buy them stock if it's part of their financial plan. But understand, stock is not the only way, the stock market is not the only way for you to go out and create wealth. So I'm going to use you and Flame, let's all combine this together, right? I signed up and started implementing the P.I.L.L method before I even had a first payment on my home. Since implementing the P.I.L.L method, I have reduced my principal on my home. And in addition to that, I've gotten equity because my home has appreciated in value. That has given me access to $250,000 worth of equity. So I am now sitting on $250,000 worth of equity because I implemented the P.I.L.L method and my credit was on point to allow me to get this loan, which now gave me the credit, allowed me to now get this line of credit. So I'm sitting on $250,000 of actual capital that I can now employ to go out and acquire another asset. So literally, at 3:00 today, just got a text from a realtor. My wife and I are going out and looking at multi-units. Now, granted, I'm a stock guy, but I'm not a stock guy. That's just something I've learned, and it's a resource for my clients if that's what they need. Everybody doesn't need the stock. So to answer your question, one, when you have a plan, you reduce your risk. Two, don't let nobody tell you that you have to invest in the stock market to create wealth, because that's not true. I have sat down with 3 colleagues of mine, and let me break this down for y'all. 3 colleagues of mine here recently, and all of them net worth is no less than 80 million. First one says to me, I asked him, I said, "Man, what you invested in?" He said, "I don't invest in publicly traded stock. I invest in companies. I invest in land and real estate. And I invest in, private equity pieces," but he has no money invested in the stock market. I'm like, okay. I got another buddy who just sold his business for 8 figures. You heard that right. 8 figures. Had no money in the stock market, but got an 8-figure check, bought a home in North Carolina with straight cash for a couple million. And now was looking to go out and invest in other companies. So again, no investments in the stock market, right? Got another client, who, net worth is right around, I think, I think last time we looked was 80, 90 million on him as well. has some money in the stock market, but he built his wealth via real estate. So all of these people are building their wealth by just understanding, hey, it's about acquiring assets. So can you use the stock market? Absolutely. But we got to get out of this frame of mind that this is what we have to do. What we have to do is have a plan and a path forward that says, hey, my end goal is to get to $5,000 of passive income coming in. How you get there is based upon your comfort level and your personality type. And I've mentioned this a couple of times, and folks may be asking, well, Perry, what do you mean by personality type? One thing we do before we hire anybody on our team is we run a personality test on them. We run a DISC assessment, because how you rank on your personality type is going to determine what investment works for you. Why do we have people going and investing in things that's just completely out of their lane when they could be getting the bag over here doing something that's in their lane? So I know it's a kind of a roundabout way to kind of answer your question, Mr. Daniel, but how you mitigate the risk is by having a plan and knowing what you're investing for. The stock market might not even be the thing that you need. You might need to invest in real estate or invest in your business, or lo and behold, invest in yourself. Just by running the P.I.L.L method and investing in the P.I.L.L method and the coaching that comes with the P.I.L.L method, paying your home off in 7 years could give you a $500,000 bag based upon the average, cost of home. I think the median price of home is what, $450,000 right now. So now you got the P.I.L.L method, paid your home off in 7 years. Are you just going to sit on that wealth that you just created? Or are you now going to employ that to go and, acquire assets that generate income? So that's my take on that, brother.
What? So listen, you just said, if I'm afraid, you're going to go through a whole battery. You're going to help me to determine what investment is going to be good for me, and to me.
Here's the deal, Mr. Daniel. It's called your investor DNA.
What investor DNA? You got to break that down.
Yeah, it's your investor. So here's the deal. My DNA.
Okay.
I got my DNA from my parents, right? So I had no choice but to be 6'3", brown eyes, dark hair, because that's the DNA. That's what's in me, right? Instead of going against your DNA, go with your DNA. So I'm hardwired. I know from a DISC assessment, I am a high D, which means I am dominant. I'm okay with risk. I get it done. I'm to the point. I'm no fluff, right? And I'm really good at quickly analyzing ROI, right? My wife, on the other hand, is a S. She's more steady and stable and more cautious. And so she's not going to just jump on and be like, ooh, let me go buy some stock. That's not her personality type. But you know what her personality type is? Hey, get a real estate property, right? We got a hard asset. It's something I can go and touch. It's, we can get Airbnb income. That's more hardwired how she is. So based on your personality type really determines what your investor DNA, what you should be investing in. And this is where so many advisors in the industry I'm in the industry and I'm a licensed advisor, but this is where I don't even like talking to financial advisors, because everybody's trying to force somebody into doing this. Hold on. Let me check this out. I had a cat, my man David Gamber. I had a cat on my podcast maybe about a month or so ago, who's generating $100,000 a month off of affiliate marketing. We ain't talk about no stocks. He is literally affiliate. He is referring products that he uses and built his email list that he now refers it out and is generating $100,000 a month. So here's the deal. He ain't investing. We ain't talking about investing in stock. He invested in himself, right? So knowing your investor DNA. So that's why, again, going through the planning process is so important, because at the front end of our planning process, so anybody who decides they want to work with us, right? The first thing we do is spend time unpacking your money story. Perry, what's your money story? It's your financial DNA. I learned how to manage money by what I saw my mom and my dad do, right? For good or worse. And so my financial money story, my mom, what I'm saying, who recently passed, big shout out to moms, like, I'm saying, love her to death, what I'm saying, yep, for sure. Moms was, what I'm saying, like they didn't say YOLO back then, what I'm saying, my mom was born for, but my mom was the embodiment of YOLO. If my child need this, we're going to get it today and we're going to figure it out. And what's so crazy, Flame, she was a master of credit, but she didn't know she was a master of credit. She just knew that she was paying stuff off and she could go in and sign for a car today with no money in her pocket. She never even knew her credit score. She just knew, like, I pay stuff down, I pay it off, and I can walk into any car lot and get you a car today. Hey, son, you need a car. Walked into a car lot. She said, I ain't got no cash, and we walking out with a new car today. And what do? We walked out with a new Jeep Cherokee that day. So that's what I learned from my mom was the YOLO, right? Now, here's the deal. That can hurt you, what I'm saying, if you're not managing your cash flow and you don't have a plan. But I did learn that piece of how important it is to have your credit on point. And she never said, hey, son, keep your credit good. She's like, no, this is just what I do. This gets paid off. What I learned from my dad never once had a conversation with me about investing or saving, right? Never once. But what he would say to me is, hey, son, you need to have A, B, and C, and a D hustle. You know what I'm saying? We Northeast Ohio, we hustle. You know what I'm saying? Right? So but that was his deal. But what was he telling me? Hindsight being 2020, multiple streams of income. He just didn't know what the passive income hustles were. All his hustles was trading time for dollars. So what did I learn? Man, I need to be getting paid 3-4 different ways. So when you start to connect the dots, right, that's my financial DNA. So I had to kind of unlearn some bad stuff, but still take what's in my financial DNA. So I'm hardwired to go get it. That's my hardwiring. My investor DNA is go get it. I'll figure it out, right? Everybody ain't built that way. If you're an I personality and you're really into like the details and things of that nature, you're not going to move as quickly as I move. And that's okay. And we need to have investments, or you need to have a portfolio built around your personality type. So before we even start working with clients, you got to go through a money story exercise with us, because we need to know your personality type to make sure that you get the right investments. And going back to the purpose of this episode, investing is too risky. Yeah, if you invest in something that's outside of your personality type and something that you don't understand, or you got a whack advisor who's just trying to throw you in something and you don't understand it, right? You mitigate the risk by investing based upon your investor DNA, having somebody who can articulate and help you grow your financial literacy, right? And having a dang on plan.
So, Flame, listen, man. I want to invest. I want to go get a house. I want to be like Perry, and I'm going to save money on interest, and I'm going to build equity, and I'm going to invest it. But right now, I want to be. I'm going to go. I have to get the loan first. I got to get that mortgage first. I've got to get other loans. I got to be, and I've got an 800 score. Tell me, how do I position myself so I'm not, it's not a flip of a coin on whether I'm going to get that loan or not? And is an 800 credit score all that is cracked up to be?
Man, this is good. Man, Perry, when you was just talking over here, I'm over here like, whoa, he's taking you all the way north, right, at this point, right, for sure. So if you guys are not, first off, man, if you guys are right now, if you guys are enjoying yourself, enjoying the conversation, I need you guys to go to the chat right now. Put a number 1 in the chat, a number 1. Put a number 1, just say 1, say, hey, man, I'm paying attention. I'm here with you guys. Put that number 1 in the chat. I got to see them number 1s. Those number 1s got to flow in. Listen, let me show you how this stuff works, right? And that's exactly right when it comes in. That's exactly right when it comes into everything that we're talking about. Is that for one is the matter is, I want you guys to write this down. I want you to write this down. Listen, I'm about to give you some important words right now. And these words right now, they would desperately and they would desperately and directly change your life instantaneously. Listen, I didn't say getting ready to, I didn't say fin to, I didn't say none of that. I said instantaneously. And what are those words? It's not about how much money you have. It's all about how much money you have access to. I'm gonna say that again. It's not about how much money you have. It's all about how much money you have access to, the accessibility to money. So you can do all this, and when you start to talk about that, when you start to talk about Perry, when you start talking about his eyes, the income, and you start talking about the independence and all of these things, right? But when you have access to more funding, that's what changes everything. Your lifetime, your life instantaneously changes when you have access. See, if somebody called you right now, I'm talking about instantaneously right now. Somebody called you and told you right now, say, listen, my son is in jail. Like, remember Johnny? Johnny's in jail. Johnny got an armed robbery charge. He done moved up on charges now. He done got an armed robbery charge now, right? So now he got a bond, right? He got a bail right now of he got a bond right now of $150,000. But Pop's got a 4-unit right now, a 4-unit that he's gonna let go right now for the low. I'm talking about low. It's $150,000. It is already valued. You're walking into a place that is worth $400,000, and he wants $150,000 for it now. So you're going to be walking into something where you have $250,000 in equity right now. So the question is, can you get that right now? That's the question. Can you get that right now? If the answer is no, then we got a problem. See, that's where we're talking about, is being able to have access to funds. You may not actually have the $150,000 stowed away under your mattress or in your bank account, but you got access to the money. That's what this whole thing is about. But in order to get into that same confinement of stuff, is that when we start talking about the credit score, those are the things that's going to trick you. It's only 3 people in America that care about your credit score, contrary to your belief. It's only 3 people that care about your credit score, right? That's called the media, the mall, and Credit Karma. That's it. I'm going to say it again. The media, the mall, and Credit Karma. That's it. Nobody else cares about your goddamn credit score, right? And I had to say it just like that, with that tone, with that emphasis. Nobody cares about your credit score. What they care about are the contents that are on your credit profile. Now, Perry and Mr. Don, I want y'all to see this right here. I'm going to paint this picture for them so they can actually see this. There's 2 kids, right? 2 kids. And I want you to see these 2 kids, right? 2 kids. They're both getting ready to go to college, right? Now, while they're getting ready to go to college, Perry, watch how this works. One of them has a 4.0 GPA and the other one has a 3.7. I'm going to say that again. One has a 4.0 and one has a 3.7. They both applied to go to Harvard and Yale together. They both applied to go to Harvard and Yale, right? Now, listen, with them both applying to go to Harvard and Yale, the 4.0 a student got denied to go to Harvard and Yale, but the 3.7 was able to get into Harvard and Yale. Now, what is the difference? How did the 3.7 get accepted into Harvard and Yale, but the 4.0 didn't? Just let that sit there for a second. How is that even possible, right? A 4.0 student got denied at Harvard and Yale, but the 3.7 didn't. They got accepted with flying arms. You know why, ladies and gentlemen? You know why? Because it was never about the GPA. What it was about the transcript. It was about the classes that they took while they were in school. The one with the 3.7 took AP classes, took advanced classes, took physics 2 and trigonometry. They took some hierarchy classes, even with a 3.7. Now, the one with a 4.0, for some odd reason, they had 6 classes of PE on their resume, right? They had arts and music and all that kind of stuff that was on their class schedule. And their highest math class happened to be an Algebra 1. Now, although they finished with the 4.0 GPA, the classes didn't match. So that's the same way it works in the credit world. So it's not about the actual credit score. It's about the contents in which is on the credit profile. So when you guys are looking at your credit profile, if you guys have one account on your credit profile and you may have that luxurious of a 750 or 770, but you can apply for somewhere and you may get denied. But the one with the 680, maybe he got a 675. That person would get approved. And they would get approved because they have 12, 13 different lines of credit on their credit profile. They got credit cards and they got loans. They got all type of other attributes that are on their credit profile. So when they're on there like that, what happens is people, the lending institutions are able to look and say, hey, you know what? No, we're going to approve you because we've seen that you've handled lots of money before. Right? You're no shame to having $25,000, $40,000. You're no shame to that. We see that. Watch this, Mr. Don. We see that you have a mortgage on your credit profile. We've seen that you had a $300,000 mortgage before. We also seen that you have lenders on your profile, which we love, the ones like the Power 8 banks, which I like to talk about, the cities and the Capital Ones and the Truists and the PNCs. Like you got quality of content on your credit profile. You just don't have fluff. And so those are the things that what we're talking about, is that in order to not get denied, you have to focus on making that your credit profile your focal point. So when you go into places that you can come out with like Perry's mom, and making sure that you're able to get the car that you want, able to make sure that when it's a time of need that you need something, you're not sitting there twiddling your thumb, right? You're over there making something happen, and you're going to go get that. You're going to be able to get it. So once again, I'm going to say this again so you guys can hear me. It's not about how much money you have. It's all about how much money you have access to. And the way that you get access to funding is to making sure that you have a solid credit profile, the contents that's on your credit profile, as opposed to your actual credit score.
Wow.
Mr. Daniel, do I have it? I got to add to that a little.
Come on, man. Go ahead.
I can't be doing. That's why I try to stay away from Flame. Because Flame had you in a space where you just get talking all day. I'm checking the battery on my computer, make sure I'm still good. So I got to lean into two things that he said right here. And Flame, that analogy of the credit profile was absolutely genius. I'm going to add even something else to that, right? So you got your 4.0 student, and your what you say, the other one had like a 3.7, 3.8.
Yeah.
Part of your profile when you're applying is also too based upon your activity. So you can have a 4.0 student and all they did was the books, right? And they just ace their classes. But you could have that 3.7 or 3.8 student that was a part of the debate team, played sports, volunteered, all about the profile. So I just thought that was just absolutely genius. And I just have to just say something to that, that was such a great analogy. And it's like, that's immediately where my mind went to, is who is the most well-rounded? Yeah, you got a great GPA, but how well-rounded are you? And that's kind of how I think when you guys talk about credit profile, is how well-rounded are you? How many lines do you have? Have you paid on those lines? Just all of those things. So just great job on that piece. And the other one I just want to add to here and really kind of dive into our wealth accelerator method is you want to be a collector of capital, right? And in your terms, collector of access to capital. So when we teach on our wealth accelerator method, it's like, hey, while you're accumulating your asset and you're getting your capital or your access to capital lined up in the form of lines of credit, HELOCs, policy loans, if you're doubling down and you're running the infinite banking play, security-based lines of credit. If you're working with somebody like me and I can get you a line of credit, you want to be a collector of capital so that when that opportunity comes up, you can jump on it, right? And somebody be like, well, Perry, I want to create passive income today. Well, I appreciate you want to create passive income today and get financially independent as soon as possible. But right now, you're on a 40-year plan. What if it's a 10-year plan? So you may take time just to grow your assets, get your credit profile together, start to get access to capital, but you want to have access to that funding because it only takes a couple of transactions to become financially free. And what I mean by that is this. Let me break this down here for you. I had a client who came over and we did a VIP day where we sat down for 6 to 8 hours and just jumped right into it. And after she started to understand her numbers, she realized she was one step away from being financially independent. When she walked in, she was just hoping to be able to retire, or become work optional in 20 years. After we left out of there, she's like, oh, I'll have this done in 2 years, right? Because what she didn't realize was her Airbnb, but that she had recently purchased, was netting $3,000 a month. Right, her monthly expenses was only $5,500. So literally, all we got to do is get the credit profile, back, and not that it's down, but just get access to that capital, whatever that play is, using the P.I.L.L method so that we can leverage that property to go get another property. But literally, all she got to do is buy 2 properties that's running the same play and generating the same passive income. So if we get 2 properties doing 6 and her monthly bills are $5,500, she's financially independent in 2 years, let alone, forget running this, hey, I got to work for 20 years play. So all of this ties together. And literally, that's why we have the P.I.L.L method, as part of our wealth accelerator method, because we value that piece so much on how you can reduce your principal and not overpay. You know what I'm saying? It's just, oh man, don't get me going. But I just had to jump in there real quickly, Mr. Daniel. I'm gonna pass it back to you. But that analogy that you use about the profile was absolutely amazing. That was absolutely genius. And I love that. It's not about how much money you have, but how much money you have access to. You want to be a collector of capital. You know what I'm saying? Because you might not need it now, but when you do need it, you know, financially free might be, hey man, I got 100,000 here, 250 here, 50 here, and I'm gonna go buy this apartment building, which is giving me $6,000 in passive income. You could be free that day, right? So understand, we can accelerate this timeline, but you got to have a system in place.
Listen, Perry, I've heard so-called experts online talk about this, and I've had people tell me this, and people who are certified in wealth management and wealth building, financial planners, they're saying, don't try to save money on interest on your mortgage. They're saying, take all of that money and invest it and just continue to pay, because your interest rate is 7%, but you can make 8, 9, 10, 12% by investing. Yeah, just leave that mortgage alone. Just pay it for 30 years. Yeah. I want to put something on the screen, Perry, and we're going to come back to you on this. So here's a $420,000 mortgage at 7%. And they're telling everybody, do not pay. Don't try to manage this and grow your equity. Take that money and invest it instead. Every single dime you can. And listen, we're not trying to poo-poo the idea of investing. You want to invest according to a plan. You want to invest according to a plan. And then any other monies you have, then when you have the right amount, we're going to have an equal weight over here and an equal weight over here. So if you have the right amount going to debt elimination, now you're talking about interest cancellation. Let me show you just a couple of things on this $420,000 mortgage at 7%. The bank wants $585,000 in interest on this loan. Number one, it's not a 7% loan, okay? Because this number is not 7% of this number, okay, already. Okay. $585,000 is not 7% of $420,000. It's 139.5%. 139.5%. So let me just show you just a couple of things here that I have time for. And that when you make that first mortgage payment on this, $344.27 goes into principal. That's to pay down the loan, while $2,450 goes to interest. So that very person that's telling you, only take your money and invest it. Only take your money and invest it. They're saying to get your equity of $344.27, it's okay for you to give the bank $2,450 for it. That's what they're saying.
Mr. Don.
Yes, sir.
Screw back up at the top right there. Go back up to when you got 585, because I want to show the people something right now with your screen, and I'm going to show exactly word for word, verbatim about what I was saying earlier. Now, if you guys are looking right now, when you see where the principal borrowed, that was $420,000. So when you walk into the store, what happened is, Mr. Don, they walked in the store and they actually purchased. Like you go to the store and you go get a Coca-Cola, or you go to the store and get a Lay's potato chips. What happens is they walked in the store and they just purchased $420,000, right? That's what they did. They purchased $420,000. But when they put that on the counter, when they rung them up, they told them that $420,000 cost them $585,000 to purchase that $420,000. I'm gonna say that again because I want people to see that in its entirety. That's what I always say about, you got to understand the two rules of credit. You got to understand how much does that money cost you. That money costs you $585,000 for $420,000. So you actually borrowed $420,000. So you rented it. right? So you rented money for you rented $420,000 worth of money, right? But in return, you had to pay them back you had to give them $585,000 on top of the $420,000 that you borrowed. If they're not understanding that, we got a problem right here. We got to go back. We got a problem right there. You got to understand how much does that money cost you, and that's what you did a perfect example of that, Mr. Don. For sure, I'm glad you had the screen up on that.
And keep that screen up. Keep that screen up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And let me lean into this as well, right? So here's the deal. I was that advisor, right? I was that advisor, like, no, don't pay your property down like that. You know what I'm saying? Invest these dollars. When you know better, you do better. And this is why understanding that you always have to be in a constant mode of growth and growing your financial literacy, because what worked 10 years ago ain't working today. I just got back from Arizona and I was taken to dinner in a car with no driver. No driver. It was a driverless car. You can go to my Facebook page and check it out. No driver. Took me and my business partners to dinner, right? So you have to stay in a place of always learning and being in the right environments, being on episodes like this and listening to podcasts and things of that nature. Because Mr. Daniel, when you broke this down to me, and I'm a numbers guy, anybody who knows this, let's strip away Perry's a financial advisor. Perry's degree is in math with a minor in biology. I do numbers, but sometimes knowing what number to look at, right? So many folks get hung up on interest rate, but you're not looking at the total pay, the cost of the money, going to Flame's point. And hey, 139%. Why would we tell somebody, like, if you don't know that number, if you're not really understanding your amortization schedule the way you do such a great job breaking down to people, they don't know any better. But after you know it, and you've now been exposed to it, like after you decide to take the red pill or the blue pill in the matrix, and now you see it's a different way, then it's up to you then to then go ahead and like, okay, I need to get more information on this piece. So this is super powerful right here, right? To understand these numbers, to Flame's point, that's how much the money cost you. That was your cost of those funds, right? And you're actually paying more for the cost of those funds than the actual funds that you actually got. So when we start to really understand the math, because the math is there, just sometimes we don't know what number to look at. Same conversation I had with folks when it's like, hey, when the PPP loans was popping and Cass was getting those, and it's like, oh, well, I ain't gonna do what I'm supposed to do with the money. I'll just pay back to, the 1%. You do realize that was like 1% over 12, 24 months. A 1% loan, they get caught up on interest rate, but not realizing that monthly pay was more than they could even afford. So again, we get so caught up on interest rates and not focus on the terms. And what you did right here and what Flame really highlighted is the terms of acquiring this money, right? And with those terms right there, how much money could you have available if you were paying this off in a smarter way, right? With the debt cancellation, that frees up capital to do those other things. Like when we first ran our numbers and I saw our savings was some crazy like $600,000, $700,000, I like, this is a no-brainer, right? This is a no-brainer. So, but it's understanding what numbers to look at. Everybody get focused on interest rate versus the actual terms. And that's what's genius about showing this, is because now you see the real terms. So great, both of you, great job on that.
Wow. Watch this, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, folks, you guys are hitting the nail on the head. I am so glad we did this show today. I'm so glad you are in the house so that we can kind of pull all these ideas together and have a holistic view of our money. But take a look at this. Okay, take a look at this. Let's say I make my mortgage payment in January, and this much goes to principal, this much goes to interest. February's principal payment is $346.28. Do I have to wait till February to give the bank this $346.28? Okay, no, I do not. If I give the bank this money in January as well, I'm paid down to line 2. That money, that $346.28 is sitting in my bank account, making 1/10 of 1%. 1/10 of 1%. We all keep cash in the bank, okay? 1/10 of 1%. So let me show you what happens when I prepay this amount. When I prepay that, I'm paid down to here, and my next mortgage payment is actually on line 3 of my schedule. I just eliminated line 2 from this mortgage, compressed the amortization schedule. Payment number 1 is now touching payment number 3. Payment number 2 has been eliminated for only $346.28, and I saved $2,447.99. So, for all of those people who are talking about why pay off this 7% mortgage in a more efficient way, here's why. Let me show you the math here, and you tell me if these numbers are lying. You can increase profits by increasing your prices. You can also increase profits by lowering your expenses. Isn't that right, fellas? Okay. So let's see. My expense is my interest expense. And so I'm going to invest $346.28, and I'm going to save. Do you know I saved this $2,447.99? I never have to pay the bank. That's going to be my benefit from paying that money early. I do not have to give the bank this $2,447.99. So I just increased my equity, but I got the equity for free. I don't have to pay them that $2,000. Let me show you what happens here. Here's my benefit: $2,447.99. What did I invest to save that money? $346.28. So I divide that by $346.28. To figure ROI, when I get this answer, I multiply the answer by 100. Okay. So now here's my answer. All right. Equals, then I multiply this by 100. That 707% return on my money. So while the other guys are telling you, don't invest in your mortgage, take all of your money and put it into an investment, there's not an investment counselor out there that can take $346 and guarantee a 700% return on your money, while at the same time, with a plan, you can know I'm going to invest money over here, and I'm going to take a small amount of money over here, and I'm going to decrease the amount of interest that I pay on this loan. And here's my last piece. By doing a strategic plan using an AI-powered computing platform that's going to optimize your interest savings with the right amount of money so that you can also invest. This is not talking about either or, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about both and. Saving money on this side and making money in compound interest on the other side, but using the right proportions. We're going to help you to find the right proportion. And here's the last thing you need to think about. For all the guys that are out there saying, don't do anything with this mortgage, take all that money and invest it. Here's something you need to see. Here's how much money the bank wants you to pay. Guess what? If you pay that interest, you can't also invest that money. If you pay it, you can't invest it. And that's when we're talking about that is an opportunity cost lost. So how would you like to have an asset that's worth $500,000 that you paid around $200,000 in interest for? Take the rest of that money and invest it, and now you have an asset that's paid off. You tracked how much interest you saved, and now you're going to invest that money, and now you are truly creating generational wealth. And when you do that, Perry, I go into all of this.
Absolutely.
I do not have a will or a trust set up, and then I die.
Right. Right. So you done ran this entire play, right? You done got to the bag and you didn't cross the T's or dot the I's and you ain't got no paperwork. So again, don't talk to me about no generational wealth unless you showing me paperwork, period, point blank. Before generational wealth means you can pull up paperwork right now. So this is spot on. So like that 700% return or whatever that number we had in there. And again, I've been in my industry 20 years. I can't go to a client and be like, yeah, hey, yeah, I'm gonna get you 700% return on your money. Like legally, I can't do that. But when I saw this, I knew like, ooh, I have to reframe and unlearn what I was conditioned to learn over those years. Because when we first got into the industry, that was absolutely the deal. No, don't pay your mortgage off. You're at 3, 4, 5%. You know what I'm saying? Invest those dollars. And what's lovely about having a holistic plan is, again, when we said, y'all, the foundation of having a holistic plan to reduce your risk on investments is cash flow mastery. And this comes into the cash flow mastery piece right here. This is cash flow mastery. When you got this mastered and you got this down and you're not overpaying for capital and your credit profile is on point and you can go get more capital and you got an investor who's not, you know what I'm saying, who understands stocks, but is not going to try to throw you into it because that's not based on your investor DNA. I don't know how you cannot win, right? Like with this collaboration right here, appreciate that, Thomas, you know what I'm saying, for sure. With this collaboration right here, how can you not win? You got debt cancellation. You got build your credit to get access to capital. You got investors who understand that the goal is to create passive income to accelerate your timeline to financial independence. This is crazy. I need to take a picture of this. I'm gonna stop talking and just screenshot this. My bad. Y'all go ahead. That flame did it to me. Flame did it.
Nah, because you can't. I mean, we got to just be able to tell the truth, right? Like, and I think that part of the process period, which I love so much, is when you're sitting there telling the folks, saying, "Hey, it's not a one-all to be all." The best information that I've ever received in life, right? And I've talking to came from a person who appeared to be homeless, right? Because I don't ever want to say who appeared to be homeless, who appeared to have, I always like to say appeared to have his whole life inside of a grocery cart. And he was pushing it. He had one shoe on and one shoe off. So, and the one shoe he had on was kind of flip-flopping with the mouth thing going on in the front, right? So you know that look of that person with the hair growing, that it turned into one big dread. It wasn't trying to grow dreads, it just came to one dread.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because he gave me the most. When it comes to information, he said these words to me. He said, do you know that if you can see it with your eyes, there's somebody in this world that made multi-millions off of it.
That's real.
Okay. He began to look and say, do you see the dirt? There's somebody that sells dirt that's a multi-millionaire selling dirt. He said, do you see these power lines? There's somebody that makes multi-million dollars in selling power lines and selling poles. And he started talking about the cars that was driving down the street. He started saying all of these things. So the more of the story is, there's not one way to make some money. Going back to what Perry's point is, right? It's the best way to make money for you. So when you're saying that, hey, you have to invest your money in one particular area, that is dead wrong. Right? I'm a product guy. I like product. That's just what I do. I'm a product guy. I like buying products, right? I like seeing money return on products, right? Or when it comes to real estate, I'm in a total different area in real estate than anybody else has been, right? I buy cemeteries. That's just what I buy. I buy cemeteries, right? If there's a cemetery for sale, I'm going to be somewhere on a polling pole trying to figure out how can I acquire that cemetery, right? These are different attributes people don't talk about. But the more this thing is, what we're saying is, there's not a one-all for be-all. But the one thing that is the be-all, the end-all, is that you got to have access to some capital to make some of this stuff happen. And there ain't no ifs, ands, or buts around about that. You can have all the dream work that you want. But they got a saying, my granny used to say it, and I can't, if somebody can help me finish it out, if somebody in the chat can help me finish this out, it was something about works and faith and before, something like that. And then she said something like dead. So it's like works and faith and dead. I don't know. I can't put them words together, but if somebody can put them words together and put it in the chat, help me out right there with something like that. Granny always just give me sayings all the time. Can you help me out? Somebody put it in the chat. Something like faith, dead, and works. I don't know. Can you arrange that for me?
You talk about faith without works.
Oh,
It's
okay,
dead.
got it. Okay, got it.
Faith without works is dead. Okay? So listen, folks, don't go through all of this. Don't go through all of this. And you've seen it. You've seen it. Somebody passes off the scene. And now, instead of celebrating that person's life, y'all are fighting over the money of getting lawyers and spending up all the money on lawyers. Mm-hmm. When this thing should have been taken care of. To build generational wealth, you have to have these 6 points in place. Folks, we got to be done in the next 10 minutes. So in the next 10 minutes, we're going to wrap this thing up in 10 minutes. Okay. So first of all, I'd like to say, if you want to know more about what Flame is talking about tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time, all right, we're going to be talking about what's the title? What's the title again? Home Sweet Home. Home Sweet Home. How to qualify for the home, how to get the home, and how to pay off the home in 7 years. Oh, Lord have mercy. And then when you take that interest savings and invest it for long-term wealth building. Oh, listen, it's going to be a whole holistic thing tonight. You don't want to miss that. You don't want to miss it. But I want to put this on the screen. If you want to know the month, day, and year you could be debt free, like Perry Jeffries, not only on his business but on his house too. The month, day, and year you could be debt free, and make sure the right amount of money goes to debt elimination. Get a savings and earnings report. Scroll down underneath Dr. Eric Thomas's picture go to ice10k.com, ice10k.com, and click on Get Your Savings and Earnings Report. Get Your Savings and Earnings Report. We're going to hear from Dr. Eric Thomas at the end of the show and how he feels about this program. You know, E.T., the hip hop preacher, the #1 motivational speaker in the world, used the P.I.L.L method strategies to pay off his mortgage. Get your free savings and earnings report today. And also get my book. All right. Get my book and start understanding how to eliminate debt from a new mindset perspective. It's not an ABC 1, 2, 3. But what it is, it changes your mind about money so that you will not go into this thing the wrong way. We have been taught how money works our entire lives the wrong way. We do this show so you can find out the right way. We're not talking about, I want to get this very clear today, and I'm going to go on record as that. We're not talking that this is a different way of doing it among other different ways. We're talking about everything you've learned about money before makes the bank money. Mm-hmm. If they're not showing you the numbers as to how it's working for you, it sounds good. It sounds logical, but it is totally irrational. Mm-hmm. When somebody says for you not to pay off a 7% loan when it really is 139 or 40% loan, they're not telling you the truth. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what you want is the right information. So I'm going to go on record and saying this is the best information you're going to get on finances here on the P.I.L.L Method Show. Not just something else you can do, but this is going to be the best thing you can do. Gentlemen, you have just a few minutes to give us a last word, and then we're going to put the links up again on Perry. You're going to be last. So Flame, we're going to put that Home Sweet Home thing up. Tell us a little bit about what we're going to get tonight.
Man, listen, tonight is this is what you're going to learn tonight. You're going to learn how to acquire a home, right? You're also going to learn the process that it takes to get a home. right? You're also going to learn about, after you get the home, the steps that it takes to get to it, right? And putting you in the right lane. Like, so when you leave out of here tonight, right? Because I like actionable stuff, things to get done. I'm a things to get done type of guy, right? Tonight, you're going to be further ahead than you've ever been before of acquiring a home, right? I'm putting you tonight, start your 6-month process. I will have you in a home in 6 months, starting from today's date, right? So 6 months from today's date, you will be in a home. So we don't have no time to be he and gaga, and we got to get right to it so I can put you in a home within the next 6 months. Now, once you've gotten into that home, now what's going to also acquire tonight is about how you can be debt free from that particular home within the next 7 years. So now you've actually gained equity into your home, right? You listened to Perry, you heard everything that he was talking about how he used the P.I.L.L method and how it worked for him. You're also going to learn about how you can actually buy a home in 6 months and listen to the word. I like to use my words carefully, right? I'm going to use a derogatory word, and I apologize before I even start. The word is called A-N-D, right? And you're going to pay it off in 7 years. Right. So now I know some things of what I'm saying. I know my mouth is filthy by saying these type of things. But what we're going to do is we're going to take you to a different direction, which is not generational wealth. So I'm not going to be talking about generational wealth. What we're going to be talking about is the generational plan. Because I've never seen a grandmother in my entire life, and I've been in the film industry forever. I've never seen any person in their life leave their kids a cake or a pie when they die. Period. I've never seen it in my life. But what I did see was grandma leave the recipe in order to make that cake when she passed away. And so those are the things that you're going to get. So you guys can create that recipe so you can pass it down from generations to come. And that's what we're saying about the generational plan. You guys are going to get it. So you will have a home in 6 months, right? And on top of that, you're going to learn how to actually pay it off within the next 7 years. This stuff is phenomenal. It's off the chart, off the chain. Hit the button right now, because I'm telling you now, I only got limited seats for the night. Only got limited seats. I think they're getting ready to fill up anyway. But if you guys hit this link right now, it's going to be, I want you there. And I don't want you just there. I want the people that are surrounding you there as well. And remember, and I want you to hear me clearly before I leave out, and that is, if you do not share this link to the people that you say that you love you to, you are now officially a hater. Bye, hater. Bye. Bye.
All right, Flav. Listen, be there tonight, ladies and gentlemen. But Perry, as you wrap up today, we have a question here for someone, all right, for someone who just woke up and realized they have been doing the whole money thing wrong. Okay, what do they need to do to get on the right track as you wrap up? Because we're going to be done in the next 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, I saw that question, and there's so many different things that a person could do to get on the right track, right? But I would say the first thing is, if I reference the book 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John Maxwell. I'm also a John Maxwell coach and developer. In that book, the first law of 15 Valuable Laws of Growth is the law of intentionality, right? So you have to be intentional about growing your financial literacy. The reason you've been doing money wrong is because there's some things that you probably need to unlearn. And in order to unlearn, you have to get in rooms like this, and you have to ask questions just like that. And you have to start to grow your financial literacy and start to rewrite your money story. So we talked about your money story as being your financial DNA. So my financial DNA had me where I was going to be 6'2.5", 6'3". That's just what it was. But what I can control is what I eat and how I work out. So I can choose to be, my DNA said I'm gonna be 6'3", but my decisions determine whether or not I'm gonna be 200 or 300 pounds, right? So being intentional now about what you ingest, and I'll leave this, is one thing to ingest is another thing to digest, right? So you want to make sure that you're in the rooms where you're ingesting the right information, or even different information, just to give you a different perspective, because you have right and wrong, you have in the middle, is all perspective. But you want to be in the right rooms where you're ingesting, but then also to work with folks who can help you digest that and metabolize that information that you're learning, right? So I know I went down the biology path, but that's what I would say is it all starts with understanding your money story and having that law of intentionality, and also to that law of awareness, where you start to be like, man, if I'm not where I want to be financially, what is it about my money story and my current actions that's got me to this point? Because you're where you are based on the actions that you have taken. And if you want to change those actions, it starts with changing the way that you think. So that's my 2 cents on that.
All right. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to get with Perry, we're going to put that link up so that you can set up an appointment with him and get a free consultation. Let's put that link in there right now so that you can get that. Also, don't forget about going to ice10k.com and making sure that you get your free savings report. And let's be there tonight. All right. So that we can talk about the home sweet home. All right. And listen, we also want to make sure that you're here for next week. Okay. So let's do very quickly. We're going to be talking about, we're changing Sunday's show. Sunday show is now going to be on the credit show. Sunday show is going to be the credit show, and Flame is going to be our special guest speaker for next Sunday. So you want to be there, and we're going to be talking about these people who pretend to fix your credit. They pretend to negotiate your credit away. And we're going to be talking about how scammy they are and what they're doing to ruin your life. So we're going to be talking about that, and Flame's going to be talking about that next week. All right. And so let's be there for that. And we have our other shows that are coming up as well on Wednesday and on Friday. So be there during the week. It's at 7 a.m. Central Time, 8 a.m. Eastern. And on Sundays, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 8:30 Central. All right, folks. Listen, thank you so very much, everybody, for being here today. All right. And don't forget, ice10k.com. Go and set up an appointment with Perry and be with Flame tonight. Let's hear from Eric Thomas as we say goodbye to all of you, and thank you for being here. See you on next week.
Listen to me, y'all. But one of his mentees took us through one of their programs, and I paid off my mortgage. But guess what happened? My marriage went to a whole nother level. And you know why? Because my wife is a security freak. And even when I blew up, my wife would be like, oh, you blew up, but how long is you gonna keep making this kind of money? I was like, I don't know, forever. She's like, you sure? Because I'm gonna keep my license as a nurse just in case you don't. So when I paid the house off, my boy was like, you ain't gotta do that, you can do this. But when I paid the house off using that program, it took the stress level all the way down for my wife because we no longer had a mortgage. Does that make sense? That thing that was coming every month, that was getting on her nerves, we didn't have that no more. And so she was at rest.